Bend for your king.
Never.
After 7 years, the Apes are back in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, directed by Wes Ball. I'm going to review it right here. Don't worry, there's going to be no spoilers, so don't worry about any of that. Before we get started though, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 700 subscribers. It's free to do so, and it helps me out a lot. I'm going to read you guys a quick plot synopsis, just so you know what the movie is about. Many years after the reign of Caesar, a young ape goes on a journey that will lead him to question everything he's been taught about the past and make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. This entry into the Planet of the Apes kind of movie franchise takes place about 300 years after the last trilogy, which I absolutely love. They open the film kind of talking about the last trilogy, what kind of happened in there, and how this does take place many generations after that one. I think that, that last trilogy is one of the best trilogies of all time. I'll probably be doing a ranking of that on the channel, so stay tuned for that. Also, I love that Andy Serkis kind of helped with the creative process and the marketing of this movie, because he really laid the foundation down for this movie with his performance in the last movie. God, he was so great in those last three movies. His performance in War was something to really marvel at. I really loved all those movies except Rise. Rise is good, but it just changed like massively. It changed so much in a way that I loved a lot in Dawn and then War. Such a great ending to that. And Wes Ball is actually directing this movie. He's known for directing and having his debut movie be the Maze Runner films, which is, I kind of have a soft spot for those, and I really do enjoy them. It's probably my favorite YA adaptation, just below The Hunger Games. And I always thought Wes Ball really imbues some great style into his movies, always with the action sequences with the Maze Runner. Some people really don't like the Maze Runner films. Some people were kind of worried that Wes Ball was going to take on this big of a movie, which I was kind of worried about. But, he really did a great job with this movie. His direction and some of the action sequences is something to really marvel at. And his direction with the characters is really great. And I'm actually really excited for his Legend of Zelda adaptation now. I think he's going to do a great job with that. But I thought his direction here was really fantastic. But I can't lie, I was a little worried about this one, only because the ending to War for the Planet of the Apes was so well realized. But this new one is another great entry into the franchise, and once again proves why this is one of the most consistent franchises if you only count like these four in the last trilogy, because I've never seen, the original Planet of the Apes and all those ones. I kind of count those as a separate story because I don't think they're going to really mash up. But the last trilogy and this one of the most consistent franchises. They're all, I think, certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, even this one. And I will say, this is a spectacle, a true spectacle that requires you to see on the big screen. I saw this in the early screening in IMAX. I don't think it really requires IMAX because none of it is in the IMAX expanded ratio. The sound is great though, but I think you can probably get away with just seeing this one on the regular big screen. But yeah, don't wait for streaming on this one. Go see this one on big screen. It's such a great experience. I kind of wish this opened last week to start the summer movie season off instead of the Fall Guy, because it feels like much more of a grander scale than Fall Guy. Feels like, the opening of the summer movie season. I think it was supposed to launch even later. I think it was supposed to launch Memorial Day, but now I had to move off that day because Furiosa is opening that day. But I do kind of wish it opened last week, because it just feels like a huge spectacle that just needs to be witnessed in theaters. One of the biggest pros about this movie is the world building. I was instantly floored at the way that Wes Ball was building this world and how we really discovered what the world turned into, because I said this takes place many generations, about 300 years after War from the Planet of the Apes, when there were still really humans alive. The world was kind of looking the same, even though you had apes kind of taking over a little bit. I would actually compare this to the Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings. That's a very high standard, but the world building in the Fellowship of the Ring really introduce you to that world when they're going on the adventure, going on, finding all these characters, trying to, go on the fellowship, go on the journey. So that kind of world building is kind of what I felt like while watching this, because the first half of this movie, we just follow Noah on a horse, really exploring this post-apocalyptic world and finding new things that he's never knew existed. Like there's this one scene where he finds a zebra, and he's really only seen a horse, and he's like, and they're like, this is a horse with stripes, and they're like, wow. It's so interesting. There are some funny moments in here, but it's not really like, there's not really a lot of comedy, just some funny moments to really ease the levity of this movie. Some scenes are like really tense. Some of the action sequences really tense. I really did love some of the action sequences. You even start out on type of, kind of a journey, kind of like a video game kind of moment. And that's, I'm not trying to be like disrespectful of the movie in that way. I think it's a pro, but there's a lot of great tense action sequences in here that I really did love. And I would actually say the first half of this movie is, a pretty interesting adventure film. It's just an adventure film where they're exploring with some action sequences, while the second half leans more into, more action and the science fiction elements, which I actually found to be a very smart way to, describe the film, half adventure, half science fiction. And as we all know, this is a lot of, motion capture, a lot of VFX and all that in this movie. It's like 90% about that. And, there are some humans in this, but this is 90% basically apes. And it's probably the most visually stunning movie and impressive movie I've seen since Avatar: The Way of Water. I think Westfall even noted that they shot almost entirely on location, which is really great to hear because a lot of movies, these days are using the volume, using green screen, using blue screen, and you can really tell it looks pretty fake, but they shot mostly all location on this front, and it really makes it feel more real for the audience. And also you get a better performance from the actors when you use real locations. So I really did enjoy what they did with that, and the locations look beautiful. It kind of reminded me of how they built the sets and all that, and how it kind of reminded me of like The Last of Us, how there's like just trees are overgrown, no buildings anymore, kind of just all that post-apocalyptic stuff. Motion capture probably looks the best it's looked in the entire franchise. Motion capture allows for the performance in the face and movements to be more prominent and realistic. That all worked out so well, and the blend with the human characters in the apes is also something to really marvel at, because sometimes, the apes can look very out of place when a human is on screen with them, but here it looked just so flawless. It looked like everything was doing everything it needed to do. So I really did think that this movie is just so visually impressive. You can always just look at something when you're on screen with some characters, always find something to look at. There's so much detail to really take in all at once. So I thought it's just visually insane. Kind of changes the playing field because everything in this movie is opposite if you compare it to Caesar's movies, because the apes have control of the world now and the humans are almost no more. There's some humans in here, but they're all being hunted, captured, killed by the apes. In Caesar's movies, it's kind of the opposite of that, because I really did like what they're doing here. And I will talk about the pacing. It's about 2.5 hours, and I saw that some people were complaining that this movie was paced, not the best. Some people were getting bored. I don't agree with that. I really am a big person on pacing and how a movie feels. If it's going slow, I will say it. But I really didn't think that this was going slow. I mean, I'm gonna do a rewatch to see if it really holds up, because I think rewatchability is a big thing for me. But I was really digging every scene. I was really excited to just keep going on this journey with these characters, keep exploring every single detail of what these characters are doing. So I felt like every scene was very important. I didn't think that you could really cut any scene from the film. Everything really felt needed here, which I found, absolutely spectacular. Let's talk about our cast here. We had Owen Teague as Noah. I don't really know Owen Teague from anything else except this, but I thought he'd give a great performance. It's a hard one to one up and follow up Caesar as the protagonist, because Caesar is probably one of my favorite protagonists of all time. But Noah is off to a really strong start, and is someone I really did like a lot. He really starts out as someone that's trying to find acceptance, trying to just find his way in his clan, and then he has to go on this huge journey, has to see a lot of new stuff, have to stand up for his clan. I really did like it. It's like a true hero's journey for him, so I thought that was interesting. He isn't afraid to stand up to people, has a lot of courage, and he's also a very smart character. So I think this character has a very smart future, and taking over this new trilogy. And Peter McCone as Rocca, I really did love Rocca as a character. This character was more the comedic relief character for the movie. As I said, there's some funny moments, and this character is responsible for most of those funny moments. And this character it's actually responsible for explaining Caesar's beliefs in the old world to Noah, which is a great conversation that I like that they had, because if some people are going into this not seeing those past three movies, they're gonna have to explain it to him, and having a character explain it to another character in the movie, I think it worked a lot. I wish we got more of Rocca though, because we didn't get to see him for that long. Then we had Freya Allen as May, the human character we follow alongside Noah. In the trailers we see that she is kind of the only human character that can talk, kind of like the special human character that the apes are trying to capture, at least the bad apes. And honestly, I don't know how to feel about her character and her intentions at the end of this movie. And I'm not going to explain why, because that is a spoiler. I love Freya's performance, and I think May is a very interesting character, but her story is far from finished at the end of this movie. It's going to be interesting to see how they really develop her character through hopefully a couple more films. But by the time that this movie's over, you don't really know what her intentions are. and where she's really going. She's kind of on her own journey by the end of this. So it is a very interesting kind of human character that they're going here. I think it's probably the most developed human character that we're going to get by the end of this trilogy. Hopefully it's another trilogy. But I thought that Frey Allen did a great job at kind of like the silent person, and then she has to kind of speak up for herself in the second act. But then we had Kevin Durand as Proximus Caesar. You might know Kevin Durand. He just showed up in Abigail. I thought he was pretty funny in that. That was like my first movie I saw him in. This is the second movie, month after month. He's coming back to back with some great performances because he is a fantastic villain here. Proximus Caesar. And just hear that name. Proximus Caesar sounds like a very great character, but I wish we got more of him. He doesn't show up till the second half. That's where we really get to see him. In the trailers, he's like, "What's a wonderful day." That's kind of like one of the first scenes we get to see him in. I wish we got, as I said, I wish we got more of him because he would have been even more developed, even more great. But he almost stole the show in the second half with every single scene. His demeanor so strong. He twists Caesar's words and wants dominance over everything. He's even telling people, he's telling his clan, people that he has power over. He's like, say his words, apes together strong. Like he's twisting his words, twisting the ideology of everything. So interesting how they covered all that. Kevin Durand was a true menace as Proximus. I loved him. His performance was easily one of my favorite parts of the movie. We're going to talk about the ending in a non-spoiler fashion. I was really fascinated with how they ended this movie and how Westfall really leaves the door open to a lot of possibilities. And I honestly don't know where they're going to take it, but I'm ready for a sequel. Like, give me the sequel yesterday, please. It really does kind of leave it on a cliffhanger. I would say you kind of call it a part one, but then the title would be just way too long. But yeah, it leaves it open for a lot of different possibilities. You're definitely going to get a sequel. Probably going to end it with a trilogy, but wow, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes off to a very strong start. If it does turn into the trilogy, another really great addition to this franchise, to this kind of new generation Planet of the Apes franchise. I was worried though, because the ending of War for the Planet of the Apes was so great. But this is so good. Probably one of the most visually stunning movies I've ever seen. Really some great performances by Owen Teague, Frey Allen, Kevin Durand. Noah is off to a great start as the protagonist. Some great action sequences in here. The world building is so fascinating. The ending left me really hyped for another one. So I thought this one was really great. So Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I'm going to give it a strong 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, this one should have opened the summer movie season. I feel like this is easily the strongest movie of May so far. I think I would have it over The Fall Guy, but I still need to go see it again. I think we'll go see either like 2 more times because it's really good. I hope a lot of you go out and see it. I wouldn't say you have to go see the other 3 before this because it does explain, but I feel like you would really enjoy the other 3. It's a really underrated franchise. Those last 3 are so great. So I really did love this one a lot. It's really great. And as I said, if you saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd love to discuss it with you. If you did enjoy my review though, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It's free to do so, and it helps out a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.